Hello and welcome. You're with the news today, your primetime destination Wednesday night. This is where you'll get all the news, the newsmakers, the talking points. Remember, on the news today, we seek one thing, accountability. And that's exactly what we're going to focus on the news today. Who is accountable for what's happened in Haryana? Who will be held accountable? We'll be joined by one of the union ministers, an important one from Haryana. Kishan Pal Gujjar is among my guests today. Also, Dipinder Hooda, the Congress MP from Haryana, will join me. But as always, it's time first for the 9 headlines at 9. The death toll mounts to 6 now in the Haryana communal clashes. Chief Minister Khattar says will make rioters pay for all damages, but claims no information on Monu Manesar's whereabouts. His deputy, Dushyant Chautala, questions why was a procession allowed to take place. The Haryana violence FIR reveals horrific details of mob violence as a mob of at least 600 people attacked Nuh police stations and fired at the cops. 116 people so far arrested in the riots probe. Hindu groups VHP and Bajrang Dal hit the streets pan-India in protest against the Haryana communal flare-up. Supreme Court directs centre to ensure no hate speech and orders videography of all their rallies. 5-judge Constitution bench begins hearing on the abrogation of Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir. Kapil Sibal, arguing for the petitioner, says Parliament cannot declare itself as a constituent assembly. Setback for AAP in Delhi services showdown against the centre after Biju Janata Dal and YSRCP. TDP now likely to back the Modi government on the Delhi services bill and the no trust war. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi counters petitioners Purnesh Modi on 2019 defamation case, says process of law being abused to arm twist him into giving an apology. Another cheetah is found dead in the Kuno National Park. It becomes the 9th big cat casualty since relocation in March. Noted Bollywood production designer Nitin Desai found dead in his studio in Maharashtra's Raigad district. Suicide suspected. Condolences and tributes pour in from Bollywood. And former US President Donald Trump indicted. Trump charged for plotting to overturn the 2020 presidential elections, witness tampering in Capitol riots case. But tonight's top story, the Haryana government has begun a crackdown on the rioters who ran amok in Nuh and Gurugram in the last 48 hours. 116 people have now been arrested, nearly 200 detained for questioning in the violence that has left 6 people dead, several injured. Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar, under fire, has declared the rioters will be made to pay compensation for the loss of private property. 6 people, remember, have lost their lives. Several others have been injured in the communal clashes in Haryana. I want to start tonight's story by looking at the story of the victims of the riots. Faceless Indians, many of whom completely innocent, had nothing to do with the violence. Others who found themselves on the street at the wrong time, in the wrong place. Tonight's top story is about more victims of communal violence in this country, this time in Haryana. Take a look.
Arson, gunfire, stone pelting, 2 days of total madness fueled by religious divide, and 6 lives sacrificed at the altar of hate. All victims of the mindless violence that gripped Nuh and Gurugram in Haryana. A pall of gloom descended on Fatehpuri village in Haryana's Fatehbad district as news of Home Guard Gursevak Singh's death reached his family. Gursevak was the sole breadwinner of a family of 6. He leaves behind his wife, 2 children and aged parents.
मेरे पुत्र ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ 5 साढ़े 5 ਵੱਜ ਗਏ ਜੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਪੁੱਤ ਨੇ ਮੁੜ ਕੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰੀ ਨਾ ਫੋਨ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ ਮੇਰਾ ਪੁੱਤ ਕੱਲਾ ਕਮਾਉਣਾ ਸੀ ਜੀ
Neeraj Kumar, a home guard, lost his life in the violence in Nuh. Village Gadhi Bazitpur on the outskirts of Gurugram, where he lives, has been home to Muslims and Hindus for years without any trouble. Neeraj's father served in the army and fought the Kargil war. Even in grief, Neeraj's father spoke the way only a soldier can.
गर्व तो पूरा जब प्रशासन आ रहा है और मेरे बेटे पर सलामी लगी है तो मेरे बेटे को समझ लो उसने अपने देश के लिए जान गवा उसने अपने देश के लिए जान दिया बहुत ही अच्छा किया कोई बात नहीं जख्म तो भरेगा कुछ देर के बाद भरेगा मैं तो ये चाहता हूँ इनके बच्चे ये मेरे भी हो तो मैं ऐसी जगह भेजूं जो देश के लिए अपना कुर्बान कर दे।
Neeraj's wife appealed to the government to put a stop to the communal violence at the earliest.
बहन ना हो जाए ऐसी भी दुआ जैसी मेरे साथ हुई है शहीद ना हो जाए जैसे मेरा आदमी होया है बस सरकार से यही कहूँगी इसे लड़ाई को यहीं रोको।
24-year-old Abhishek Rajput from Panipat was one of the two Bajrang Dal workers who lost their lives on Monday. His family refused to accept his body and staged a protest demanding the government fulfill their demands. Mourning with Abhishek's family was his best friend and business partner Monsoon, a Muslim.
वो बहुत अच्छा था जी फॉर्मेट आप लोग ने समझा था मेरे में अपने में जी वो आगे मुस्लिम है मैं हिंदू हूँ।
Shakti Singh, a Bajrang Dal worker, worked in a sweet shop to earn his living. Bhadas village, where he lives, is Muslim dominated. His family blames outsiders for the violence.
वो लगभग 6 बजे वो शाम को 6 बजे खाना वाना खा करके वो बोला कि मैं गुरुकुल पे जा रहा हूँ तो वहाँ से ये यहाँ से घर से जो है कि गुरुकुल के लिए गया था। गुरुकुल पे 6 बजे के आसपास ही जो है कुछ बाहर के शरारती तत्वों ने जो है हमला कर दिया था। तो हमें सुबह जो है कि सूचना मिली कि भाई यहाँ जो है कि मांडीखेड़ा हॉस्पिटल में जो है कि भादस गांव से एक डेड बॉडी आई है। तो हमें शक गया कि हो सकता है हमारा भाई हो वो। तो हम यहाँ से बाइक लेकर के गए 2-3 जने और वहाँ जो है हॉस्पिटल में जाकर के हमने अपने भाई की लाश देखी।
जालिम हूँ इंसान बना दे या अल्लाह घर की मेरे दीवार हटा दे या अल्लाह।
22-year-old Muhammad Hafiz Saad, a Naib Imam at the Anjuman Jama Masjid in Gurugram, posted this song appealing for communal harmony on social media recently. Saad had his tickets booked to visit his home in Bihar for Tuesday. He was killed on Monday night when a riotous mob targeted the masjid, hours before he would have taken the train to his home.
फजर की नमाज पढ़ा करके हम आवेंगे सुबह वहाँ और इस 11, 12 और 1 के बीच में जो है इस तरीके का हादसा हुआ और हमारे बच्चे को जो है वहाँ चाकू और गोलियों से जो है भून दिया।
Neeraj, Gursevak, Abhishek, Shakti, Muhammad Saad, all victims of mindless hate. With Shreya Chatterjee and Arvind Ojha, Bureau Report, India Today.
The genie of hate is out and taking lives. Let's tell you the timeline now. It's becoming clearer exactly what happened in the last 48 hours. It all started at 10 a.m. July 31st when the VHP Bajrang Dal Yatra began. Remember, this Yatra began against the backdrop of the likes of Monu Manesar, who we'll come to later, making provocative videos as they've been accused of. 12 noon, July 31st, stones were pelted on the Yatra after sloganeering. 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., according to the FIR, a mob of 600 to 700 people attacked the police. This was a mob that was chanting Allahu Akbar and slogans of that kind. According to the FIR, anti-social elements then fired at the police and an officer was injured. 4 p.m. July 31st is when the clashes began to spread across Nuh. At 5:30 p.m. July 31st, the Haryana government suspended internet services. At 6 p.m., the violence had spread to Gurugram. Late night, July 31st is when the cleric was killed outside a mosque in Gurugram. So the violence starts in Nuh, which is Muslim dominated. and then spreads to Gurugram, where there is a backlash within the Hindu community targeting Muslim establishments. This is how it all happened. Now, one of the missing pieces in this puzzle is the role of Monu Manesar. He's a cow vigilante, a Bajrang Dal activist, someone who's been facing cases in the past. The Nuh riots were triggered after reports that Monu Manesar would be present in the rally. In fact, he had put out a social media video asking people to come to Nuh. The Haryana government says it doesn't know about Monu's whereabouts. The Rajasthan Police, which had earlier said he could be involved in a double murder, has also not charged him. Monu instead spoke to India Today via phone. This is what he had to say.
A notorious cow vigilante.
मेवात किसी की पनौती नहीं है या किसी की जागीर नहीं है, वो हमारे कृष्ण भगवान की धरती है। जोरों शोरों से गौ माता की सेवा करते थे, हैं और रहेंगे।
A Bajrang Dal activist. A history sheeter under investigation in connection with the killing of 2 Muslim men in Haryana's Bhiwani in Feb this year.
मैं आपका भाई मोनू मानेसर बजरंग दल प्रांत गोरक्षा प्रमुख बजरंग दल हरियाणा से।
This is Mohit Yadav, popularly called Monu Manesar, a 30-year-old polytechnic diploma holder who joined the Bajrang Dal while in college.
31/7/2023 दिन सोमवार को मेवात ब्रज मंडल यात्रा है। सभी भाई बढ़ चढ़कर हिस्सा ले। हम खुद यात्रा में शामिल रहेंगे और हमारी पूरी टीम वो यात्रा में शामिल रहेगी।
Monu Manesar shot to limelight for his announcement that he would attend the VHP's Braj Mandal procession on Monday. The annual 130-kilometer march planned through Nuh, a sensitive Muslim-dominated district in Haryana. Police stopped him from attending the yatra. But an India Today investigation has found rumors about his alleged presence stirred the passions among locals already pent up by the Feb killings and the Gau Rakshak squads.
तो वहाँ ब्रीफ करने में उनको हैंडल करने में जो शुरुआती 2060-70 जो भी हुए वो कहीं कहीं अधिकारी ने सोचा भाई चलो ये मान जाएंगे खदेड़ देंगे उसमें ये नॉर्मल ये ले लिया उनको। हाँ एक मोनू मानेसर नहीं आया समझा देंगे यार वो आ भी नहीं रहा था लेकिन वो मानने वाले कहाँ थे। वो मोशा और फोन कर दिए भाई इसने अफवाह फैला दी वो आ लिया मंदिर पर और यात्रा चलने वाली है। अच्छा तो हम यात्रा को रोकेंगे, उनका मकसद उस रास्ते को ब्लॉक करना था। अच्छा जो मोड़ है जिससे जानी थी
कोई भी दोषी बख्शा ना जाए और उसमें मैं
Monu Manesar denied provoking the other side of the communal divide in Nuh.
कोई उकसाने का कार्य नहीं किया, ना मैं उस यात्रा में गया क्योंकि हमारे अधिकारीगण थे। उस यात्रा में मैं था ही नहीं। हमारे जो डॉक्टर सुरेंद्र जैन जी हैं, जो हमारे विश्व हिंदू परिषद के बड़े अधिकारी हैं, उन पर भी सीधा फायरिंग की गई है। तो उससे बड़ा दुर्भाग्य क्या है? हमारी हिंदू बहन बेटियों पर सीधा फायरिंग, और ये हिंदू समाज बिल्कुल नहीं सहेगा।
At the same time, he sought to speak on behalf of the entire Hindu community, claiming it won't tolerate attacks. The last time his name cropped up prominently in national media was in Feb. The police probe found cow vigilantes from Haryana pounced on Junaid and Nasir, suspecting them of being cattle smugglers. The charred bodies of the 2 men from Rajasthan found in a burnt vehicle at Bhiwani. Police named 9 suspects for the savage murder. 3 of them have been arrested, 6 still at large. Monu Manesar's alleged role being probed.
As far as the investigation is concerned, only thing I can say about Monu Manesar is that he is definitely within the purview of investigation.
Born and raised in Haryana's Manesar, he is father of 2 children. The man is no stranger to police investigations. He is named in 6 cases in Haryana and 1 at Bharatpur in Rajasthan. His vocabulary at public meetings hosted by Hindutva outfits has often blurred the line between free speech and provocation. Monu Manesar appears to have got the back of some powerful people over what all unfolded at Nuh on Monday.
मोनू को हुआ बना करके, मोनू को ढाल बना करके इस तरीके की हिंसा करना, मोनू तो वहाँ प्रेजेंट भी नहीं है। जो अभी तक की रिपोर्ट्स आई हैं, अगर मोनू होता तो शायद लगता भी कुछ उसके कारण लोगों में उकसाहट आई है। वो तो वहाँ था नहीं और उसके बावजूद ये जो हुआ है, इसका मतलब ये कि तो एक मोनू का नाम लेकर के वहाँ हिंसा करने की जो योजना बनी,
हम खुद यात्रा में शामिल रहेंगे और हमारी पूरी टीम वो यात्रा।
A textbook case, a man with criminal record fostered by the powerful, going berserk online and on the ground, all in the name of Gauraksha and religion. With Arvind Ojha and Jai Kishan Sharma, Bureau Report, India Today.
The victims, the chronology, and someone who certainly had a role to play, many believe, in inciting trouble. Who will be held accountable? That's the question I want to raise. Joining me now, Kishan Pal Gujjar is Union Minister for Heavy Industry. He's from Haryana. Appreciate your joining us. Gujjar साहब, ये बताइए, आपके गृह मंत्री अनिल विज कहते हैं, हमें कहते हैं ये साजिश है, इट्स अ कॉन्स्पिरेसी। मुख्यमंत्री मनोहर लाल खट्टर जी कहते हैं इसके पीछे कुछ ना कुछ हाथ है, साजिश है। लेकिन डिप्टी चीफ मिनिस्टर दुष्यंत सिंह चौटाला हमें कहते हैं किसने परमिशन दी इस यात्रा के लिए, इतनी बड़ी यात्रा के लिए। और इंद्रजीत सिंह आपके यूनियन मिनिस्टर कहते हैं क्या ऐसी यात्रा होनी चाहिए जिसमें तलवार हो? अगर ये साजिश है तो आज हमें बताइए इस साजिश के पीछे कौन है? If this is a conspiracy, who is behind it? किशन पाल गुज्जर जी।
देखिए राजदीप जी, ये तो जांच का विषय है। जैसे जैसे जांच आगे बढ़ेगी पूरी तस्वीर क्लियर हो जाएगी कि इसके पीछे षड्यंत्रकारी कौन है, साजिश रचने वाले कौन हैं, मास्टरमाइंड कौन है। ये सब जांच का विषय है और जैसे जैसे जांच आगे बढ़ेगी पूरी तस्वीर क्लियर हो जाएगी। मेरा इसमें ये कहना है, ये शोभा यात्रा कोई पहली बार नहीं, आप देखेंगे हर बार सावन के महीने में ये शोभा यात्रा निकलती है, जिसकी बाकायदा जिला प्रशासन से इजाजत भी दी जाती है, उसका रूट भी तय किया जाता है। कहीं दूर दूर तक ये अंदेशा नहीं था। लेकिन कहते हैं अतीत की घटनाओं से भविष्य के लिए आदमी वो योजना बनाता है। अतीत में ऐसी कभी कोई घटना घटी नहीं, बड़ी शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से ये शोभा यात्रा निकलती रही है, अपने रूट पर जाती रही है। लेकिन पहली बार साजिशकर्ताओं ने साजिश रची है भाईचारे को समाप्त करने के लिए। लेकिन ये भाईचारा आज का नहीं है, दशकों का नहीं है, सदियों पुराना है। ये साजिशकर्ता अपने इस मकसद में कदापि सफल नहीं होंगे। ये भाईचारा कायम था, है और रहेगा। ये अपने मंसूबों में सफल नहीं होंगे, इतना मैं कह सकता हूं।
नहीं, ये मुझे सीधे सीधे बताइए, हमारे पास जो सबूत है, हमने इस पर स्टोरी की है, उसके मुताबिक वहां के लोकल पुलिस ऑफिसर्स जहां नूह के हैं, उन्होंने वार्निंग दी थी, इत्तला दी थी कि रैली बड़ी हो सकती है, हिंसा हो सकती है। इसके बावजूद पुलिस वहां तैनात क्यों नहीं थी? उस लेवल पर नहीं। यू हैव अ बिग यात्रा और पुलिस तैनात नहीं है, ये श्योरली एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन का लैप्स है। कहीं ना कहीं हरियाणा सरकार पर सवाल उठेंगे। इतनी बड़ी यात्रा के लिए आप परमिशन देते हैं, लेकिन पुलिस यंत्रणा वहां कमजोर रहती है। इवन दो देयर वर वार्निंग थे इसके बारे में।
देखिए, जितनी यात्रा में हर साल फोर्स लगाई जाती थी, हजारों उसमें फोर्स की संख्या में फोर्स लगाई गई थी। लेकिन कहते हैं कि आप कह रहे हैं कि आजकल ये सूचना आ रही है कि उन्होंने ऊपर रिपोर्ट दी थी, आगाह किया था कि संख्या इस तरह की वारदात हो सकती है। तो ये जांच का विषय है और जांच में अगर इस तरह की बातें आएंगी तो जो भी निश्चित तौर पर उसके लिए दोषी होगा, उसके खिलाफ निश्चित तौर पर कार्रवाई होगी। इसमें किसी के लिए माफी नहीं है, चाहे वो साजिश रचने वाले हैं, इस तरह के घटनाओं को अंजाम देने वाले हैं, उनके खिलाफ सख्त से सख्त कानूनी कार्रवाई होगी।
नहीं, मेरी सिंपल बात है कि आज आप कह रहे हैं कि कानून सख्त से सख्त कानूनी कार्रवाई होगी, लेकिन इस यात्रा के पहले तैयारी क्यों नहीं थी, यंत्रणा क्यों फेल हो गई? सर, कोई दंगा बगैर कहीं ना कहीं पुलिस की लापरवाही या उनकी फेलियर के बगैर होता नहीं है। इतना बड़ा दंगा नहीं हो सकता कि इतने लोग वहां फायर आर्म्स के साथ हैं और पुलिस गायब है। कहीं ना कहीं पुलिस को अपना रोल अदा करना चाहिए था, तो नहीं हुआ। पुलिस पर मैं सवाल आज उठा रहा हूं, आपकी यंत्रणा पर उठा रहा हूं और सरकार पर उठा रहा हूं। सरकार की कोई जवाबदेही है या नहीं गुज्जर साहब?
देखिए राजदीप जी, अगर पुलिस बहुत ज्यादा कमजोर होती तो ये दुर्घटना बहुत बड़ी हो सकती थी। ऐसा नहीं है पुलिस नहीं थी, वहां हजारों की संख्या में पुलिस थी और बहुत तेजी से जब ये घटना घटी तो वहां डिप्लॉय भी किया गया पुलिस को। पैरामिलिट्री फोर्स भी बहुत जल्दी से वहां पर भेजी गई, तभी आज सामान्य स्थिति वहां पर हो पाई है। लेकिन मैं एक कहना चाहता हूं कि ये जो घटना हुई है इसके पीछे मुझे षड्यंत्र नजर आता है, क्योंकि पिछले 9 साल से मोदी जी की सरकार, भारत एक भारतवासी एक, हरियाणा में मनोहर जी की सरकार, हरियाणा एक हरियाणवी एक, इस भावना को लेकर लगातार देश और प्रदेश को आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं। इसीलिए देश में भी और प्रदेश में भी तेजी के साथ निवेश आ रहा है। और आप जानते हैं राजदीप जी, निवेश वहां आता है जहां स्टेबिलिटी होती है, सिक्योरिटी होती है। लेकिन ये हुआ है, इससे हम इनकार नहीं करते, लेकिन लोगों के मन में जो भावना आई है, निश्चित तौर पर कड़ी कार्रवाई करके हम ऐसे असामाजिक तत्वों को, ऐसे साजिशकर्ताओं को ऐसी कड़ी सजा दिलाएंगे कि भविष्य में कोई सोच भी ना सके इस तरह भाईचारे को समाप्त करने की बात भी।
सर, आपने कहा एंटी सोशल एलिमेंट्स, जरूर एंटी सोशल एलिमेंट्स थे, किसी भी समुदाय से हो सकते हैं, मुस्लिम हो या हिंदू हो। लेकिन मैं आपको यह पूछ रहा हूं, एक संगठन है बजरंग दल, बजरंग दल का क्या रोल आप समझते हैं? क्या आप उनको कहते हैं वो बिल्कुल दोषी नहीं है? आप बार बार ये कह रहे हैं यात्रा बहुत पीसफुल थी। मैं आपको अभी तस्वीर दिखाऊंगा, उसके उन बजरंग दली जो यात्रा में है उनमें कई ऐसे हैं जिनके पास गन है, जिनके पास और हथियार हैं। तो क्या आप केवल मुस्लिम समाज को दोष देंगे कि वो एंटी सोशल एलिमेंट्स विद इन मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी? बजरंग दल का इसमें क्या रोल है? क्या आप समझते हैं बजरंग दल बिल्कुल बेकसूर है?
देखिए, मैं किसी को दोष नहीं दे रहा राजीव जी, मैंने कहा ये जांच का विषय है। अगर अवैध हथियार वहां भी मिलेंगे और वहां भी मिलेंगे तो निश्चित तौर पर जांच के बाद जो भी दोषी होगा उसके खिलाफ कार्रवाई होगी। मैं किसी एक वर्ग को इसमें दोषी नहीं ठहरा रहा। और आप कह रहे हैं तो ये सारी चीजें तथ्य सामने आएंगे जांच में, और तथ्य के आधार पर कार्रवाई सरकार करेगी, क्योंकि इसके लिए सबका साथ और सबका विकास, सबके साथ एक जैसा न्याय ये सरकार करने वाली है। ये दोषियों को बिरयानी खिलाने वाली सरकार नहीं है, उनके खिलाफ कार्रवाई करने वाली सरकार है। राजदीप जी,
गुज्जर साहब, मुझे ये बताइए, मोनू मानेसर वो भड़काऊ, एक तरह से कुछ लोग कहते हैं भड़काऊ, सोशल मीडिया पर कहता है आप सब बड़ी तादाद में, कम इन बिग नंबर्स, 31 जुलाई आप पहुंच जाइए यात्रा में, मैं भी आ रहा हूं। यह कहा जा रहा है मोनू मानेसर, जिस पे सवाल उठ रहे हैं, उनके क्रिमिनल रिकॉर्ड पर सवाल उठ रहे हैं, हरियाणा सरकार उसको प्रोटेक्शन दे रही है, यह आरोप है। कार्रवाई के बजाय जिसका नाम मर्डर में शामिल हो, वो वीडियो इस तरह से वातावरण को बिगाड़ने की कोशिश करता है। क्या हरियाणा सरकार मोनू मानेसर को बचा रही है? आप कह रहे हैं किसी को नहीं बचाएंगे आप।
ये आरोप निराधार है राजदीप जी। मोनू मानेसर का वीडियो आपने भी देखा, हमने देखा है, उसमें क्या कहा है उन्होंने। ये हरियाणा सरकार पर जो आरोप लगा रहे हैं बिल्कुल निराधार है, असत्य है। हरियाणा सरकार ने ना उसको कोई रियायत दी है, ना उसको बचाने में लगी है। वो राजस्थान के में वो कार्रवाई हुआ, उसका मुकदमा दर्ज है। राजस्थान की सरकार को कार्रवाई करने से किसी ने रोका नहीं है, हरियाणा सरकार उसकी मदद करने को तैयार है। तो ये कार्रवाई राजस्थान की सरकार ने करनी है, वो कार्रवाई क्यों नहीं कर रही ये तो वो बता पाएंगे। लेकिन उस वीडियो में ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है जिसमें दंगा भड़काने की या दूसरे को उत्तेजित करने की बात हो। उसमें सिर्फ जो सुनाई दे रहा है वो ये है कि आप ज्यादा से ज्यादा संख्या में 31 तारीख को पहुंचिए, शोभा यात्रा में भाग लीजिए, मैं भी भाग लूंगा। मान लीजिए उन्होंने वीडियो का, लेकिन उसका ये वीडियो उन षड्यंत्रकारियों को, उन अपराधियों को ये इजाजत कैसे दे देता है, ये अधिकार कैसे दे देता है कि उस वीडियो के कारण, उस एक आदमी के कारण वो निहत्ती शोभा यात्रा पर पत्थर बरसाएंगे, गोलियां चलाएंगे, गाड़ियों को आग के हवाले करेंगे, दुकानों में लूट मार करेंगे। वो एक वीडियो के कारण, एक व्यक्ति के कारण वो सबको सजा कैसे, सबके खिलाफ ये इस तरह की कार्रवाई कैसे कर सकते हैं? या इस बात की उनको इजाजत दे है कानून?
गुज्जर साहब, आप साजिश बार बार कह रहे हैं दैट दिस इज अ कंस्पिरेसी। हरियाणा में अगले साल न केवल लोकसभा चुनाव है, विधानसभा चुनाव है। यह कहा जा रहा है कि हिंदू मुस्लिम दंगा भड़काने की ये साजिश जो है वो पॉलिटिशियंस करवा रहे हैं, नेता कर रहे हैं। क्या आप मानते हैं कहीं ना कहीं ये नेताओं का एंगल है? चुनाव आ रहे हैं और लोगों को बांटने की ये साजिश है। दिस इज टू डिवाइड पीपल।
देखिए राजदीप जी, ये बातें वो कर रहे हैं जिनका अस्तित्व अपना संकट में है, जिनको अपने अस्तित्व की चिंता है, वो इस तरह का निराधार आरोप लगा रहे हैं। आप देखेंगे पिछले 9 सालों में अगर इस घटना को छोड़ दें या 1-2 घटनाओं को छोड़ दें, जम्मू कश्मीर छोड़ दें, तो पिछले 9 सालों में मोदी जी की सरकार में आप बताइए, जो रोज दंगे, रोज कर्फ्यू, रोज बम ब्लास्ट होते थे, रोज रावालिस वस्तुओं के विज्ञापन टेलीविजन और अखबारों में आते थे, आज को वो दिखाई देते हैं। हमने कानून का राज स्थापित किया है देश में भी और प्रदेश में भी। अपराधी के मन में कानून का भय हमने बैठाया है कि कानून से खिलवाड़ करने वाला देशद्रोही बचेगा नहीं, उसको कड़ी से कड़ी सजा दी जाएगी। इसलिए वोट की राजनीति का इसमें कोई चक्कर नहीं है। हमारे लिए वोट से पहले देश है, भाईचारा है। हमको पहले देश चाहिए, पहले भाईचारा चाहिए। ये उनको मुबारक जो वोट के लिए राजनीति करते हैं, जो भाई को भाई से लड़ाकर वोट हड़पते हैं। ये लोग वो इस तरह की बातें फैला रहे हैं। हमारे लिए देश पहले है, भाईचारा पहले है, उसके लिए हम वोटों की चिंता नहीं करते। वोट तो आते रहेंगे, जाते रहेंगे, चुनाव आते रहेंगे, जाते रहेंगे। हमारा देश रहना चाहिए, हमारा भाईचारा रहना चाहिए। हम इस संकल्प को लेकर राजनीति में काम कर रहे हैं। राजनीति
गुज्जर जी, अगर आपको भाईचारा बढ़ाना है, देश को बचाना है, तो आपको एक चीज माननी पड़ेगी कि अगर कट्टर हिंदुत्ववादी हो, जो गन लेके, बंदूक लेके रैलीज में इस यात्रा में जा रहे हैं, या कट्टर इस्लामी हो जिन्होंने आगजनी की हो, पत्थरबाजी की हो, हिंसा की हो, कोई भी कट्टरवादी हो, हिंदू हो या मुस्लिम, मैं एक बार फिर कह रहा हूं, हिंदू हो या मुस्लिम, कार्रवाई सब पर होनी चाहिए। बजरंग दल अगर कार्य करता है, हिंसा करता है, उन पर भी होनी चाहिए। कोई इस्लामिक गुट करता है, उन पर भी होनी चाहिए। एक तरफ कार्रवाई नहीं हो सकती। क्या आप मानते हैं कि ये एक प्रॉब्लम है? अगर आपको वाकई भाईचारा बढ़ाना है तो कार्रवाई भी इक्वल, हिंदू हो या मुस्लिम, दोनों पर होने पड़ेगी इस बार।
देखिए राजदीप जी, बिल्कुल ये सरकार सबके साथ न्याय करने वाली सरकार है, किसी के साथ पक्षपात करने वाली सरकार नहीं है। इसलिए जिसने भी ये अपराध किया है, जिसने भी ये साजिश रची है, उसके खिलाफ सख्त से सख्त कार्रवाई होगी। वो किसी भी धर्म का हो, किसी भी मत का हो, किसी भी मजहब का हो, जिन्होंने कानून को अपने हाथ में लिया है, उसके खिलाफ निश्चित तौर पर कार्रवाई होगी।
तो इमाम हो, जिसकी इमाम की मौत हुई है, या बजरंग दल वर्कर की, आप मुझे आश्वासन दे रहे हैं कि दोनों जो भी इसके लिए जिम्मेदार है, उनके खिलाफ कार्रवाई होगी। गुज्जर जी, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, थैंक यू वेरी मच। Okay, you heard Mr. Gujjar there, the union minister talking to me. Let's now get the opposition viewpoint. Dipinder Hooda is Rajya Sabha Congress MP from Haryana. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Hooda. Let's be clear. The chronology of this riot reveals that there is certainly a role of Islamist groups in Nuh who have been seen on tape resorting to violence. There has been an Imam who was killed in Gurugram. There are Bajrang Dal workers who are also well armed. How do you explain this chronology? Who do you hold responsible for what happened in Nuh and then Gurugram?
See, first of all, Rajdeep, what has happened in Haryana is most unfortunate, very painful to see, because Haryana has not had a history of communal clashes. In fact, this is one area which remained peaceful even going back to 1947 during the partition when we were part of joint Punjab and there were a lot of communal flare-ups in many regions, but this region remained largely peaceful even then. So for Haryana and this region to see such communal clashes, it's very, very painful for us, the citizens of Haryana, to see. And that is why, first and foremost, through your means, I would like to appeal to all the citizens of our state, to our workers and everyone, that everybody should do whatever they can contribute to, to help in normalizing the situation, to help in creating a situation of social harmony, be it through social media, be it through your conversations with when you meet people. Everybody should try to do that. And I would also like to appeal to Haryana government that they should also take whatever steps are necessary to normalize the situation, to maintain the social harmony. So that's the first and foremost, the priority for all of us. But now the question is, how did we come to this? Absolutely, this is the failure of Haryana state government machinery. This could have been completely avoided. The government, the responsibility lies with the state government. The procession, this is a procession which takes place, and if adequate police deployment was there, this was a completely avoidable scenario. I heard our friend Krishan Palji, who said that police adequate deployment was there, but actually it was not there. The only home guards were there. This procession was left, people were left to fend for themselves. And this happened, no adequate deployment of police forces was there, despite the fact that there was a intelligence input which was passed on to the government. Now, this is something, the administrative failure, that questions on administrative failure is not something that we are asking. These are the questions that have been asked by the local BJP MP, Rao Indrajit ji, who is a minister in the union government, and also the Deputy Chief Minister. In his statement today, Deputy Chief Minister also pointed to the administrative failure. So there is the administrative failure. They cannot run away from that.
I take your point. Both Dushyant Chautala, Rao Indrajit Singh have questioned administrative failure. But let me tell you what Haryana Home Minister Anil Vij says. He says planned conspiracy because the way stones, weapons and bullets were seized, it does seem someone masterminded and orchestrated the violence. Do you agree with that? Do you believe that there is a planned conspiracy, that there was a group waiting to target this yatra?
So now, this statement itself proves administrative failure. If there is a plan, if there was a planned conspiracy and they knew about it, then why the police was not deployed? And if they did not know about it, then what was the CID department doing? Rajdeep, in most Indian states, including Haryana, always the department, the CID and the police, both the departments lie with one ministry, which is the Home Ministry. But in Haryana's case, CID first time, because of certain differences between Mr. Khattar and Mr. Vij, the CID department actually is with the Chief Minister. And the Home Minister is with Mr. Vij. So now both the Chief Minister and the Home Minister are saying that there is a pre-planned conspiracy. One, CID is with you, Mr. Chief Minister, and Home is with the Home Minister. Then, that means that either you did not know about this, so your CID department it's a failure of CID department, or if you knew about it and you sat on the report, as has been pointed to by a report in your channel, which did a sting, which had asked certain questions of these officers, then if they did not do about it, then where did that CID input got lost? Where intelligence input got lost? It could have been lost either in the Chief Minister's office or the Home Minister's office.
But Dipinder Hooda, what is being suggested, and this is, as I said, the chronology that I also explained to Mr. Gujar, it is being suggested that jihadist groups, call them Islamist groups, radicalized, were waiting in Nuh for possibly Monu Manesar and other Bajrang Dal activists to reach there, and they were going to take them on because clearly they were prepared. The kind of weaponry that's been used clearly suggests there was one group clearly well prepared. Now, are you saying in this that only Monu Manesar or Bajrang Dal is to be blamed? Do you concede that this is an issue where possibly Islamic jihadists who are involved at the local level in these firearms will also have to be taken to task? It cannot be that this was a one-sided riot. This was violence where both and Imam has died as well as Bajrang Dal workers have died.
Rajdeep, now absolutely anybody, anyone who was involved, irrespective of their religious background, has to be taken to task. It doesn't matter. And you know, it is a fact what you are saying, that even as a build-up to this incident, there were provocative videos from both the sides leading to the build-up of this communal tension. Now, anybody who's indulging in crossing the red line and crossing the red line of law, anybody who's taking law in their own hand, provoking communities or indulging in any kind of rioting, etc., from any caste or religion, they have to be taken to task, and exemplary punishment we demand from the government. This is proven to be a very weak government, this Khattar government.
But tomorrow
that the government has to
take
take every culprit to task and provide exemplary punishment.
But Dipinder
At the same time, the government needs to answer to a basic fact that why you did not take any preventive measures. It's a very, very simple. Why the procession of this nature, and after build-up of such communal tension where public videos were being issued from both sides. It was not even if the CID is a failure, you did not have, which is not, because the CID officers are saying, intelligence, that they did provide input 10 days back that this is an inflammatory situation. In the public knowledge, these videos were circulating. In spite of that, when you don't deploy the police, and SP of that district is actually gone on leave, then who is to be blamed? I mean, the government has to avoid this. And another angle which I would like to, through you, say, the fact is that this region, Gurugram to Faridabad, now Gurugram has emerged as a millennium city, is the #1 choice for investors. All the Fortune 500 companies have their presence in Gurugram. Investments from all across the globe, from US to Japan, from Europe to Middle East, it's a favorite destination for investment, creating jobs for lakhs and millions of youngsters from across the country. The success story of Gurugram is based on the foundation of social harmony, peace and law and order situation that these MNCs can take for granted. Today, after this, the kind of clash that we have seen, hundreds of MNCs have either, have taken, declared a holiday or declared work from home. Colleges are shut down, schools are shut down. This in national interest, before anybody's political interest or anybody's national interest, it's important to keep the growth story of Gurugram going. Tomorrow, Gurugram can rival Dubai, Gurugram can rival Tokyo, Japan, Tokyo, London, New York. But for it to happen, we cannot have this situation. The national interest of all political parties, it's important to have a social fabric in place, to have the social harmony for which our state has been known. Chief Minister today held a press conference and said that the police, 60,000 police cannot provide security for about 3 crores Haryanvis. That's the most unfortunate statement that I've heard from a person sitting in such a high office. If you cannot do it, you step aside. We will do it. We have proven 10 years of Congress government in Haryana, not one riot. I'm saying on record. And their government, after every couple of years, there is a huge law and order machinery failure, and there's a riot on certain, fault lines, one fault line or the other.
Okay, there were earlier. I take your point. I know you made a strong point, particularly about Gurugram. There one final question. You said this government needs to take tough action on the rioters. Presume tomorrow, as the government has indicated today, they are going to demolish the property of rioters. They will bulldoze the property. They will get, they will financially ruin these rioters. Will the Congress support that? Does the Congress support any attempt being made to bulldoze any firm action, including bulldozing of people's properties?
Any firm action. After an investigation, all the rioters who have crossed the red line from any side, be it from A side or a B side, anybody who is found in creating this disharmonious situation any firm action that the government takes, we are with the government.
Okay, those are strong.
This is proven to be one of the weakest government of the, where, a simple procession, they were unable to provide security for a procession which was, well planned in advance, the procession. They are now claiming a conspiracy. They are now planning pre-planned. What were they doing if it was pre-planned, if I may ask, Mr. Khattar?
You've asked that question, and it's a strong question which hopefully the Chief Minister will have to reply. If it's a pre-planned conspiracy, where did the administration fail? I keep repeating this. Riots of this kind don't take place without either the incompetence or complicity of both of those in the state. So questions will be raised of the state, as it will of those who took law into their hands, whether they were riots belonging to some jihadist mob or whether they were Bajrang Dal activists. The law must be equal for all, Hindu or Muslim. Deepinder Hooda joining me. Appreciate your joining me here on the news today. Now, the point is that when communal violence takes place, it is more often than not the poor who suffer the most. In Badshahpur, a shop and an old man was burned down. Images of the man in agony were captured by the India Today journalist that went viral. My colleague Shreya Chatterjee spoke to him. Listen in.
एक बार अगर आप बताएंगे कितने बजे के आसपास की घटना है?
3 बजे।
3 बजे के आसपास। कितने लोग आए थे?
10-12 आदमी आते थे और वो मारकूट कर रहे थे। मैं तो यहाँ था नहीं, न पता 2-4 मिनट बाद उन्होंने आग लगाकर चले गए।
पुलिस से कंप्लेन किया आपने? यहाँ पे पुलिस भी आई थी या नहीं?
पुलिस भी आई थी।
आई थी।
हाँ, उन्होंने कोई कंप्लेन नहीं की, लेकिन रात को मेरे को बुला के ले गए थाने।
हाँ।
वहाँ पे उन्होंने जो कुछ लिखाया और अपने पास।
क्या बोला आपको? कंप्लेन करेंगे, आगे कार्रवाई होगी आपकी?
अल्लाह बेहतर जाने, होगी ना होगी। मुझे तो लिख के मेरा एड्रेस पैसा रख लिया, मुझे तो कुछ दिया नहीं, ना कुछ बताया।
कितना सामान होगा यहाँ पे?
सामान बहुत था यहाँ, कूलर भी थे, रजाई गद्दे भी थे, थान भी थे।
सारे आपके सामान यहीं पे थे?
हाँ, सारा सामान, मेरे कपड़े लगते सारे कुछ, सब कुछ जल गया मेरा।
कितना रुपए का सामान होगा?
अरे बहुत रुपए का सामान था। मैं तो रात दिन यहीं रहता था, मेरे तो घर भी कुछ ना, मेरा तो इसमें ही जो कुछ था। अरे इसमें तो 3 लाख का नुकसान है, क्या करूं बताओ।
This man is running a small shop in Gurugram, millennial city, highest per capita income Indians live there. Who's going to compensate him? Who's going to compensate him for what has happened? Why should he be targeted in this manner? Simply because of his religion, just as those who were targeted, Hindus and Muslims, were both targeted in this violence. Many of them were completely innocent and did not deserve what you see there on your screen. I want to tell you one more thing. Nuh, where communal crashes broke out on Monday, is one of the poorest districts in Haryana. 40% of the population is multidimensionally poor, according to a Niti Aayog report. I keep maintaining, look at those numbers. These are districts of this country that have suffered the most in terms of poverty. Now they suffer because of violence. Violence driven by the genie of hate. नफरत फैलाना बहुत आसान है, प्यार बांटना बहुत मुश्किल. Talking of hate, let me turn to the recent train firing incident where a railway police protection force constable shot 4 people dead on that moving train. An eyewitness to the incident, Krishna Kumar Shukla, has now revealed more shocking details. Saurabh Bakhtania has this report.
5 a.m. on Monday. 4 people are killed in a shooting spree on the Jaipur-Mumbai Superfast Express. Railway Protection Force Constable Chetan Singh allegedly gunned down his superior officer Tikaram Meena and 3 Muslim passengers. Those 1.5 hours of sheer horror still haunts Krishna Kumar Shukla, an attendant who was on the coach, and now a key witness.
माहौल तो सर जी बहुत डरावना था वहाँ का। भाई ऐसा सामने वाला बंदूक लेके घूम रहा था, ऐसे लग रहा था जैसे मानो कसाव वाली कहानी सामने, तो पैसेंजर तो डरेंगे ही ना। मैं वहाँ पेट्रोल का काम करता हूँ, कोच अटेंडेंट हूँ। करीबन 12-13 साल हो गए।
Shukla rushed to the spot where he heard the firing.
हम भी देखे तो सामने वाला नीचे एकदम खून में पड़ा हुआ था और वो जो जिसने गोली चलाई थी वो बगल में बंदूक लेके खड़ा था।
The train attendant says he got nightmares even now.
हम तो इधर जो पुलिस वाले साहब मरे थे खाली उन्हीं को जान रहे थे, लेकिन बाद में बोरीवली में ये देखने को मिला कि उधर भी एक बॉडी पड़ी हुई है। फिर ये दोनों बॉडी को बोरीवली में उतारा, फिर इसके बाद पता चला कि स्लीपर में भी 2 हादसा हो गया है।
Police officials who are investigating the entire case are not at all buying the claims that Chetan Singh is mentally unfit and therefore he committed this entire crime. There are several allegations by Chetan Singh's advocate and his family members saying that Chetan Singh was mentally unfit. But the police officials who are investigating this case saying that while this crime was committed, Chetan Singh was very much in his consciousness. He did what he wanted to do and he was very well aware about it.
Meanwhile, the Railway Protection Force has issued a press note saying the periodical medical examination conducted by the force detected no medical ailment. The RPF says if Chetan Singh was under medication, then he and his family kept it a secret. With Saurav Bhaktania and Mustafa Sheikh, Bureau Report, India Today.
Lots of depressing news today, news that should make us angry as Indians. We do not want to see hate. Is there an India above hate? Of course there is. We will bring you the stories that you also need to know of. Stories of hope from Manipur and from Haryana. That's coming up. There is hope amidst despair. Back in a moment.
India today is at ground zero in Torbang and the situation is so vulnerable. Simultaneously there is accusation of using sophisticated weapons, but these young boys risking their lives and using these single barrel gun and double barrel gun.
We love our land and our village, that's why we sacrifice our life.
No one could ever imagine that in a state, in the same country, in the same district, we will ever see such situation which has become a battlefield, and I could say this is a war zone in Manipur.
Grounded in journalism, on the ground reporting, only on India Today TV.
From the miracle of 1983 to becoming the first-time host in 1987.
The More versus Miadad of 1992 to the Prasad versus Amir Sohail of 1996.
And then, of course, the high of 2011 with Mahendra Singh Dhoni finishing it off in style.
He finishes off in style. A magnificent strike into the crowd. India lift the World Cup after 28 years.
Relive India's journey at the Cricket World Cup from 1983 to the last edition in 2019 with me, Rajdeep Sardesai.
And me, Nikhil Nas. World Cup Rewind at these times on India Today.
Well, the top story at the moment may be Haryana. Don't forget the ethnic conflict in Manipur that has created that deep division between the Kuki and Meitei communities. Now, is there hope? Of course there is. Because amidst the chaos, a Kuki-Meitei couple is trying to provide a safe haven for children living in the war zone. Take a look at this report from India Today's Ashutosh Mishra.
This is a rare oasis of peace in Manipur. The orphanage run by Donjalal Haukip, a Kuki, and his wife Rebati Devi Haukip, a Meitei, is in the foothills of Khetal Manvi. Here an imaginary line divides the Meitei-dominated West Imphal and Kuki-dominated Kangpokpi. A line so far nobody has breached.
They used to come and encourage my wife. They said, "You take care of the children. We are here, and we won't disturb you anything." So they encourage, and moreover,
The Kuki tribe come here and they encourage your wife.
yeah, and moreover, there's around 3-4 Meitei ladies are there married to Kuki in the hill. They came and they said, "Do not worry, we are here."
The orphanage run by Imam Foundation is home to 18 children, and they come from all communities. The children haven't been to school since the ethnic clashes started.
How many of them have not been going to schools?
They all go to school.
No, the small younger one.
Yeah, they all go. Before the conflict, they all go.
Before the conflict.
Yeah.
And since the conflict?
Since the conflict, only the higher classes.
Only the higher classes.
They now learn the occasional lessons from Rebati Devi Haukip and spend time in their dormitory among their books. Initially, they are wary of the guests in their dorm.
पोएम आता है? जिंगल आता है? पोएम आता है कोई? पोएम किसने याद किया है?
Attempts at friendly chit-chat yield shy smiles. Then they opened up, like only kids can do. And when kids do that, how does one hold back? Haukip and Rebati don't have kids of their own. These children mean the world to them.
They love with peace and harmony.
Yeah, they love peace and harmony. We are trying our best to be a good citizens in the future.
By the time we got ready to leave, the children obliged us with a song.
While people are at war against each other in Manipur, there are few stories that could be a living example and motivation for the entire state that love can bring peace and harmony. Love can bring you together, and this is what is need of the hour in this state which is in conflict and which has become literally a war zone. In Manipur's this part, bringing this dispatch with Sanjay Kumar, I am Ashutosh Mishra for India Today.
Okay, we started the program with Haryana and we thought we would end it with it. In the start of the program, the stories were of despair, of people grieving. But there are Indian citizens, when Nuh and Gurugram flared up, who rose above the politics of hate to help their others in need. Tonight, I want to leave you with a story of a Muslim family that opened their doors to a Hindu father and son and to a woman cop who were being chased by their attackers during the communal clashes. The family not only provided them food, but also stood guard. Tonight, I leave you with this conversation that my colleague Shreya Chatterjee had with the duo, with the prayer, Nafrat Chodo, Pyar Bato. India above hate. Good night, Shubhratri, Jai Hind, Namaskar.
जब एक नफरती तत्वे ने आप लोगों पे अटैक किया आपके क्योंकि आप कह रहे हो धर्म को लेके और भी ज़्यादा अटैक हुआ और दूसरी तरफ उन्हीं धर्म के लोगों ने आपको बचाया, क्या आप नफरत को सीख के तौर पे लोगे या फिर अमन को सीख के तौर पे लोगे और आप लोगों को भी क्या दोगे सीख के तौर पे कि इस पूरी घटना से लोगों को क्या सीखना चाहिए?
हम तो धर्म के बारे में और अपने भाईचारे के बारे में यही लोग वागन से कहेंगे कि शांति बना के रखें, ज़्यादा उसमें कुछ नहीं रखा है। ये देश हमारा है, ये बर्बाद हो जाएगा, कुछ नहीं बचेगा। जिस तरीक़ा से वारदात हो रही हैं, हिंदू कर रहा है, मुस्लिम कर रहा है, ये गलत हो रहा है। या कि अपने भाईचारे को अपनों कायम रखो, इसी में हमें भी यहीं रहना, उनको भी यहीं रहना है। बाकी जो हादसा इन्होंने किया है ये बहुत ही शर्मसार, बहुत ही मतलब बहुत ही ज़्यादा शर्मसार।
अभी सहमत हो?
हाँ जी मैम, बिल्कुल मैम।
कुछ कहना चाहते
मैम वही है, गलत तो हुआ है, हमारा भी नुकसान हुआ है मैम, ठीक है। और मैम वहाँ से जान बच के आ गई, यही हम तो बहुत बड़ी बात है। गाड़ी घोड़ा की तो कोई बात नहीं है, लेकिन हाँ जी मैम, बिल्कुल मैम, सुख शांति से जी ले मैम, वही सब।
ज़्यादातर आपसे ये सवाल मैं पूछ रही हूँ कि ज़्यादातर जो लोग थे वहाँ पे वो यूथ थे, है ना? तो जो यूथ है
मैम 25 साल तक के बच्चे थे, जो और पतले पतले मैम जो भी थे, हमने देखे भी, मैंने बिल्कुल बहुत करीब से देखा है उनको, तो मैम सारा यूथ था।
तो ये भटके हुए नौजवानों को आपके कहानी से आप इनको जो सीख है वो क्या देना चाहोगे?
हम यही देना चाहेंगे कि अपन शांति बनाए रखें, इनके बिना हमारा काम नहीं चल पाता और हमारे बिना इनका काम नहीं चलेगा, ठीक है मैम। तो वही चीज़ें अमन चाहते हैं, हाँ जी, अमन चाहते हैं।
So, you know, this is the story that you beautifully heard by both Karan and Vivek. They were attacked by the same community. They were saved by the same community. They are choosing to take the message of friendship, and that is their message forward. They're asking people to ensure and keep peace and harmony, because otherwise, as we've always heard, an eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. With video journalist Abhishek, this is Shreya Chatterjee for India Today.
From the miracle of 1983 to becoming the first-time host in 1987.
The More versus Miadad of 1992 to the Prasad versus Amir Sohail of 1996.
And then, of course, the high of 2011 with Mahendra Singh Dhoni finishing it off in style.
He finishes off in style. A magnificent strike into the crowd. India lift the World Cup after 28 years.
Relive India's journey at the Cricket World Cup from 1983 to the last edition in 2019 with me, Rajdeep Sardesai.
And me, Nikhil Nas. World Cup Rewind at these times on India Today.
Good evening, viewers. Let's take a look at the weather report across the major cities this evening. Thiruvananthapuram is at 30 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 41. Mumbai is at 30 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 56. Panji is at 29 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 42. Ahmedabad is at 32 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 71. Bhopal is at 27 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 30. Jaipur is at 33 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 52. Delhi is at 36 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 125. Srinagar is at 30 degrees Celsius with AQI being 74. Lucknow is at 31 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 82. Patna is at 32 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 33. Kolkata is at 31 degrees with an AQI of 38. Hyderabad is at 29 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 28. Bangalore is at 27 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 29. Chennai is at 35 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 35. This is all we have for you in this segment. Hope wherever you are, you find favorable weather around you. Keep watching India Today for all the weather updates with me AI Sana all through the day.
Co-powered by the new Kia Seltos, the badass reborn. Extra safe polycab green wire.
Communal flashpoint at Delhi's doorstep. Haryana's Mewat up in flames. Blaze singes smart city Gurugram. %100% accuracy amidst the blaze.
जिस कदर हथियार लहराए गए हैं, जिस तरफ गोलियां चलाई गई हैं, ये अकस्मात हुआ नजर नहीं आता। ये तो किसी ना किसी ने इंजीनियरिंग की है।
First hand reports tell the full story. Haryana on edge. Top focus on India First.
As we enter day 4 since the clashes in Haryana on the doorstep of Delhi, with 6 people dead, hundreds injured, so many people displaced, hundreds of vehicles destroyed, police stations burnt down, we take you down to the very basic, the genesis, where it all started, how it was triggered. You've probably heard that these provocations began on social media. Here on India First, we confirm to you, not only is that true, but our investigation by India Today's Ankit Kumar nails it down. Take a look at this exclusive.
6 dead. Countless injured. Over 100 vehicles reduced to burnt shells. A police station smashed. Shops looted. And a national capital territory on edge. It's day 4 since the communal eruption at Delhi's doorstep in Haryana's Mewat region. And until now, the true trigger has been a matter of speculation. Not anymore. A provocative call concealed in an invitation to the Bajrang Dal's annual religious yatra. The provocation instantly triggering a response from the Muslim local in Nuh named Muhammad Samar. If there can be two faces to what triggered the horrors in Mewat, take a close look at these two men. It was their social media posts that raised temperatures to a terrifying degree, resulting in the eruption. But on India Today, we want to peel away the layers to tell you how things really started. The first seeds were planted in a cyber fraud case in Faridabad a few days ago. Tension escalated when a Muslim man from Nuh, a minority-dominated part of Haryana, who had been arrested in a cyber fraud case, passed away while in police custody at a hospital in Faridabad. Police claimed the suspect was ill at the time of arrest. In came Bittu Bajrangi and his supporters, who claimed local Muslim leaders in Nuh were provoking crowds to attack the police in the aftermath of the alleged custodial death. Local anger against the cyber crackdown had been building, with Nuh emerging as a new epicenter of online scams and cyber crimes. The situation was ripe for trouble.
हम किसी के माध्यम से सरकार से ये मांग करते हैं आफ्ताब और जाबिर घाटमिका उनके खिलाफ राजद्रोह का मुकदमा और जो दंगा भड़काने की जो उन्होंने बात की कोशिश करी, ये सभी को लेकर हम फैजाबाद पुलिस और राज्य पुलिस के साथ हम उनके साथ खड़े हैं।
Bajrangi even circulated this viral video where a man can be seen calling locals to assault the police. Right after this, open calls were made on social media by Monu Manesar, an accused in the murder of 2 alleged cow smugglers from the locality.
दिन सोमवार को मेवात ब्रज मंडल यात्रा है, सभी भाई बढ़ चढ़कर हिस्सा लें.
As well as by Bittu Bajrangi to participate in this year's upcoming annual Shobha Yatra passing through Mewat. Mohammad Samar was playing his own part in counter provocations and organizing groups in Nuh in preparations for violence. Samar has deactivated his social media since the crackdown on the villains this week.
और ये बोलेंगे कि बताया नहीं कि हम मुलाकात नहीं हुई, तो इसलिए हम पूरी लोकेशन देंगे. अभी हम पाली हैं और निकलेंगे धौस से ही. फूल माला तैयार रखना, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. बिल्कुल, क्योंकि ये बोलते हैं ना कि बताना नहीं, निकल गए जी, बताया नहीं, पूछा. 150 गाड़ियां फुल सिस्टम.
On the fateful day of Yatra, Bajrangi posted multiple live streams with more provocative messaging on his way to Mewat. What happened next was no longer limited to a social media showdown or a cyber fraud investigation.
You can look at the bus. There are bricks lying down. People have somewhere down the line fled while this bus was looted, and subsequently then this bus was used by the miscreants to break the wall of the cyber police station. The manner in which the cyber police station has been destroyed, it stands testimony that this was nothing less than a revenge.
This social media build-up was not happening covertly. It was in full public view and would have raised an alarm on police systems. So how did this very public and communally charged build-up evade the attention of law enforcement? And could timely intervention against those challenging the authority of law have potentially saved lives? With Arvind Ocha and Shreya Chatterjee, Bureau Report, India Today.
And news just coming in, this is a big breaking exclusive. One of the key instigators of what happened in Mewat in Haryana has been tracked down by India Today, even as the Haryana Police are said to be on the hunt for a man named Bittu Bajrangi, one of the persons who had been live streaming provocative videos, instigating crowds and resulting in videos from the Muslim community in Nuh as well, making similar provocations and threats. The Haryana Police says that they're tracking him. India Today has caught up with him and we've put questions to him as well.
तो बजरंगी, आप ये बताइए कि क्या हुआ था उस दिन, आप वहाँ मौजूद थे, कैसे सब शुरू हुआ?
जी, हमारी हर वर्ष की तरह इस वर्ष भी हमारी एक शोभा यात्रा थी और वो बड़ी शांति से हर वर्ष शोभा यात्रा निकलती है, शांति सद्भाव से. और इस वर्ष हमारी परसों जो यात्रा निकली वो पहले से ही हमारा वो था कि हम वहाँ से अपने नल्लड़ मंदिर है मेवात में, वहाँ से जल अभिषेक करके और अन्य मेवात क्षेत्रों में निकलेंगे और पूजा अर्चना के बाद हम वापस अपने स्थानों पर जाएंगे, जिसमें अनेक महिलाएं, बुजुर्ग, बच्चे पूरे गाजे बाजे के साथ हम गए वहाँ पर। हमने वहाँ पर पूजा की, पूजा करने के बाद वहाँ पर हमने खाना खाया, महिलाओं ने, बुजुर्गों ने, सबने मिलके कीर्तन हुआ। उसके बाद हमारी जो गाड़ियाँ थी वो एक ही रास्ता था वहाँ का, एक सिंगल रास्ता था। उस रास्ते पर हमने बोला कि अब गाड़ियों को घुमा के निकलो। तो जैसे ही हमने बोला कि निकलो तो जो पीछे वाली गाड़ियाँ थी वो आगे हो गई, नॉर्मल बात है। जो पीछे थी वो पीछे हो गई। तो आगे जो काफिला जो चला तो हम कोई 500 मीटर या आधा किलोमीटर चले होंगे, तो वहाँ पर हमने देखा कि जो हमारी आगे की जो बस है और गाड़ियाँ हैं उनको आतताइयों ने आग लगा दी, आग के हवाले कर दिया। और फिर हमने देखा वहाँ पर तो वहीं पास में एक मस्जिद थी सड़क किनारे ही, वहाँ पर 200-250 की संख्या में उन्होंने हथियारों से गोलीबारी चालू कर दी।
आप कह रहे हैं हथियारों से गोलीबारी चालू कर दी, आप खुद कैसे निकले वहाँ से, आप ये बताइए।
मैंने बताया ना, जैसे हम वहाँ से फिर जैसे उन्होंने गोलीबारी चालू करी, वहाँ पे आगजनी कर दी, वहाँ पे गाड़ियों में आग लगा दी। तो हमारे पीछे महिलाओं की बसें थीं और भी लोग थे, सभी लोग थे, सब एक साथ। हमने वहीं से ही यू टर्न ले लिया वापस मंदिर की तरफ कि वापस मंदिर पे चलो, क्योंकि मंदिर एक ऐसा स्थान था कि वहाँ पर एक लग रहा था कि हम वहाँ पे बच जाएंगे, क्योंकि पीछे से पहाड़ था पूरा। आगे हम खड़े होते तो चारों तरफ से मुझे घेर लिया था, लेकिन वहाँ मंदिर पे पीछे पहाड़ था, इसलिए हमने सोचा वहाँ बच जाएंगे। तो फिर क्योंकि बचने का मतलब हमें इतना डर नहीं था, अपनी प्राण देने के लिए, धर्म के लिए हमें डर नहीं है, लेकिन हमें अपनी महिलाओं, बच्चों की चिंता थी, क्योंकि इनके साथ कोई ऐसी अनहोनी जैसे मणिपुर में घटना हुई कि बड़ा वाला मणिपुर ना बन जाए, हमें अपनी माताओं की चिंता थी। उसके लिए हमने उस यात्रा को वापस करके हम मंदिर में गए।
अच्छा, आप कह रहे हैं हथियार वहाँ पर थे, तो तस्वीरों में तो ये भी देखा जा सकता है कि जो हिंदूवादी संगठन थे, जो शोभा यात्रा में जो लोग शामिल थे, उनके पास भी वेपन्स थे, तलवारें थी, कुछ एक लॉन्ग गन्स के साथ में भी वहाँ पर मौजूद थे।
जो एक आध गन्स होंगी भी तो वो लाइसेंस की हैं, अवैध नहीं है। और तलवार हमारी क्या होती है, पूजा करने वाली होती हैं। ये तलवार हमारी शादी ब्याह वाली होती हैं, काटने मारने वाली नहीं होती। और एक दो तलवार थी किसी कार्यकर्ता पे, किसी बहन बेटी पे, अगर सैकड़ों की संख्या में होती तो लगता कि हम लड़ाई झगड़ा करने गए हैं। कोई अपने परिवार के साथ, अपनी फैमिली के साथ क्या लड़ाई झगड़ा करने जाएगा, ये सोचने की बात है।
अच्छा, आपकी एक वीडियो वायरल हुई सेम डे, और अब तो काफ़ी वायरल हो चुकी है, जिसमें आप कह रहे हैं कि हम आ रहे हैं, आप फूल माला तैयार करके रखिए, इस तरह की शब्दावली आप यूज़ कर रहे हैं, जीजा आप कह रहे हैं। आपको लगता है कि इन चीज़ों से माहौल ख़राब हुआ?
ये मैं आपको दिखाना चाह रहा हूँ, ये क्या बोला, पढ़ो। मैंने सबको नहीं बोला, कुछ जिन्होंने मुझे धमकी दी थी 2 दिन पहले मेरे फेसबुक, मेरे व्हाट्सएप पर कि आजा, तेरी तैयारी हम करेंगे, तेरे को टुकड़े टुकड़े करेंगे, तेरे को हम जला के मारेंगे। और अभी मैं आपको रिकॉर्डिंग सुना देता हूँ, ये अब पढ़ो, आप क्या लिखा है इसमें, बताओ।
आपके नाम को लगातार धमकी आ रही थी?
हाँ जी, कि आओ तो सही एक बार, हम स्वागत के लिए बैठे हैं, तेरे टुकड़े करेंगे, तुझे जलाएंगे। और अभी रिकॉर्डिंग में भी अभी आज भी फ़ोन आया है कि हम मेवात वालों को बड़ा मलाल है, हम अफसोस कर रहे हैं कि तू बच के कैसे निकल गया।
अच्छा, आप एक बात बताइए, देखिए आप तो एक संगठन चलाते हैं, आपके साथ में कार्यकर्ता रहते हैं, लेकिन जो घटना घट गई उसमें 6 लोगों की मौत हो गई है, जिसमें 2 होमगार्ड्स हैं, 4 सिविलियंस हैं। कौन जिम्मेदार है?
ये आतताई जिम्मेदार है, जिन्होंने ऐसी घटना को अंजाम दिया। और वो आतताइयों पे योगी सरकार की तरह उनके घरों पे बुलडोजर चलने चाहिए, और मैं तो कहूँ उनका अनकाउंटर भी होना चाहिए। जो इस तरह से ऐसी घटना करी है, हमारे अफसरों को भी मारा और हमारे राम भक्तों को मारा जो वहाँ पे भोले बाबा के दर्शन करने गए थे। उनका क्या कसूर था? सिर्फ जल अभिषेक करने के बाद और उनकी हत्या करना, ये हमारा कसूर था? या हम अपने राम का नाम ला लें इस देश में, जल अभिषेक ना करें? अगर हम कोई हाव लड़ करते तो हम जिम्मेवार होते कि हमने कोई वहाँ जाके गलत हवाबाजी करी है या कोई तलवार लहराई है या कुछ करा है। हम शांति से गए हैं। और मैं दोबारा कहना चाहूँगा, हम महिलाओं के साथ गए, बच्चों के साथ गए, क्या हम वहाँ झगड़ा करने जाएंगे?
If the trigger point for what happened in Haryana can be boiled down to 2 faces, then it would be the faces of two men, namely Bittu Bajrangi and Mohammad Samar. Both people on two sides of a communal divide that has resulted in the deaths of 6 people so far in the communal clashes that started on the 31st of July. But the seeds of unrest were sowed days before, at least 8 days before the eruption. And India Today's investigation has revealed that the fires of hate were fanned very much on social media. If there can be two faces to what triggered the horrors in Mewat, take a close look at these two men that we have on your screens right now. Bittu Bajrangi and Mohammad Samar. It was their social media posts that raised temperatures to a terrifying degree, resulting in this eruption. Each side says it was the other side that provoked first. There are some that say the other side didn't provoke at all. But Bittu Bajrangi gave a call for mobilization, putting out videos saying, "Main Mewat aa raha hoon," and warning, "Goli pe goli chalegi." A provocative call was concealed in an invitation to the Bajrang Dal's annual Shobha Yatra through Mewat. The provocation triggered a response from a Muslim local, Mohammad Samar in Nuh, who instigated his followers to break limbs and then pretend that the attack was in self-defense. He too called for his followers to bring their friends to Nuh. The first seeds were planted in a cyber fraud case in Faridabad, however, a few days before the tension. It was this man, the death of Shaikul Khan, 30 years old, on the 23rd of July in Faridabad police custody that actually set off a chain reaction of social media posts that resulted and erupted on the 31st of July, 8 days later. Remember, Nuh has emerged as a massive epicenter for cybercrime and online scams, and the death of a man in custody, a Muslim man in custody, is now believed to be the one key trigger point that resulted in a chain of social media posts, each one more provocative than the other, both from either side, fanning temperatures, fanning flames, raising the fever pitch of anger and poison to such a level that things reached a head on the 31st of July. During that Shobha Yatra, stones were pelted and 6 people have died between Nuh and Gurugram. But this is to tell you, viewer, that it all started on social media. Joining me live now to go through some of the findings of this and get their views on it, Vishnu Gupta is National President of the Hindu Sena. Saira Shah Halim is a well-known activist. Welcome to you both. Thank you for being with us. Saira, I'd like to come to you first. You've seen a part of our investigation, and we'll be playing out more of it in the in the hours ahead. We'll also have more information about the social media posts, but it looks very much like this was far from being a spontaneous attack. It was far from being one-sided. It was something that was aggravated through social media, through provocative social media posts, for over 8 days before it erupted on the 31st of July. Saira.
Right. Yes, Shiv. So one thing I'd like to make it very clear, even if it started off on social media, isn't it the job of the authorities to quell tempers? Isn't it the job of the authorities to take actions against any particular person, or be it a group, be it a political group or a fringe group, to stop it, to ban and to ensure that these things don't happen? But then, the role of the authorities is in question here, because why did this issue escalate? That it has become a full-fledged riot. 6 people, more than 6 people have died, including 2 police personnel. A mosque has been torched. There's been a complete backlash. You look at various areas. Section 144 has been imposed. Delhi is tense. Gurugram is tense. Whole of that Delhi, Gurgaon, Haryana belt is tense. So for a social media post, so here we need to understand that it might have started, the trigger point might have been 2 individuals. But what has the government done? What has the police establishment done? What are the enforcement agencies doing? Why did they let an incident on social media, why did they allow it to flare up, that became a communal outburst, that became a religious riot? So I think here the authorities need to be pulled up. They need to be asked some very tough questions because
And let me tell you that India Today is the only channel asking those tough questions to the Haryana government. We've just grilled the Home Minister as well. I'll come to the part of accountability of the Haryana government and the police, which is very important in just a moment. I want to focus for the moment right now on what we found in these social media posts. Vishnu Gupta, आपका क्या कहना है इस पर? जो सोशल मीडिया में जो चल रहा था एक हफ्ते के लिए, जुलाई 23 को लेकर जुलाई 31 तक, विष्णु गुप्ता, काफी सोशल मीडिया पे भड़काऊ चीज चल रही थी दोनों साइड से। दोनों साइड बोल रहे हैं कि एक ही साइड से चल रहा था, लेकिन अगर हम ये फेसबुक के स्ट्रीम्स देखेंगे, इंस्टाग्राम के स्ट्रीम्स देखेंगे विष्णु जी, ये तो साबित होता है कि दोनों साइड से काफी प्रोवोकेटिव चीज बोले जा रहे थे।
जी, ऐसा है, दोनों साइड से ऐसा जब काम चल रहा था और वहाँ की लोकल पुलिस और जितने भी विभाग होते हैं पुलिस के, वो सभी लोगों ने उस पर नजर रखी। पुलिस को उस समय भी उस पर कार्रवाई करनी चाहिए थी, क्योंकि भड़काऊ भाषण या भड़काऊ बयानबाजी कहीं से भी होती है तो वो आगे भविष्य में चल के नुकसानदायक होती है। वही भड़काऊ भाषण, भड़काऊ बयानबाजी आगे दंगे में तब्दील होगी। और मैं मेवात की हिस्ट्री में बताना चाहता हूँ, जो लोग दूर दराज के हैं, जो मेवात को नहीं जानते हैं, मैं बताना चाहता हूँ, मेवात आतंकवाद का गढ़ बन चुका है और दिल्ली और एनसीआर में अपराध का गढ़ है। जितने भी बड़े अपराध और अपराधी और जितने भी बड़े कांड टाइप जो होते हैं, वो सब के तार मेवात के यहाँ से जुड़े होते हैं और वहां कोई भी पुलिस आसानी से वहां कार्रवाई भी नहीं कर सकती। इसलिए दिल्ली के भी कुछ छोटे मोटे केस और छोटा मोटा जितना भी फ्रॉड होता है वो मेवात से ही होता है। वहां पुलिस जाते हुए भी डरती है। इसीलिए ये जो दंगा हुआ है इसमें लोकल पुलिस का बिल्कुल फेलियर है और मैंने इसीलिए माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी को पत्र भेजा है आज और कहा है एसपी और डीएम और वहां के डीसी को बर्खास्त किया जाए तत्काल। ये मैंने मांग की है और मैं मानता हूं यहाँ पे लोकल प्रशासन की बहुत बड़ी फेलियर है, बहुत बड़ी फेलियर है। और भड़काऊ बयानबाजी यदि कहीं से भी हो रही थी, जो आप दिखा रहे हो, अभी भी मैं मीडिया में देख रहा हूँ, लेकिन पुलिस ने समय रहते हुए कार्रवाई क्यों नहीं की? क्यों नहीं उन लोगों को अरेस्ट किया गया? और जहां तक मोनू मानेसर का सवाल है, मोनू का एक वीडियो सामने आया है, मोनू ने कहीं भी उसमें भड़काऊ बयानबाजी बोली है तो मुझे एक भी छोटी सी क्लिप आप मुझे दिखा दो जिसमें मोनू ये बोल रहा है कि हम मुसलमानों को धमकी दे रहा है या कहीं और दंगा करने की बात कर रहा है। भाई, दंगा करने की बात और धमकी देने की बात सिर्फ वहां दूसरे पक्ष की ओर से आ रही है, जिन्होंने मेवात को गढ़ बना दिया है जिहाद का। उनके खिलाफ कानून सख्त कार्रवाई करने में नाकाम रहा है।
लेकिन अगर आप बिट्टू बजरंगी के वीडियोस देखेंगे विष्णु जी, उसमें भी काफी भड़काऊ बयान तो है ही। बिट्टू बजरंगी जो है बजरंग दल के,
सुनिए, भड़काऊ बयान है तो मैं यह कहना चाहता हूँ, भड़काऊ बयान है तो उस समय रहते हुए कार्रवाई क्यों नहीं की गई?
हाँ बिल्कुल, इस पे मैं सहमत हूँ, इस पे मैं सहमत हूँ। सायरा,
मुसलमान हो,
Saira, Vishnu Gupta says exactly what you said, which is that if all these videos were happening, there should have been some kind of crackdown on these people, whether it was Mohammad Samar, whether it was Bittu Bajrangi or whoever it is. So the question arises, as far as the Haryana police or government is concerned, whether this was negligence or complicity. It's a reasonable doubt to have now.
Absolutely. Now, another thing, forget about who put what on social media. Take the irresponsibility of our political leaders. Look at the Haryana Home Minister, Anil Vij. He is giving such blatant, misleading statements that 3,000, 4,000 people were held hostage by Muslim rioters in a temple, at the Nalha Mahadev temple, when the priests clearly refuted that claim. And here, people outside, a police station are making inflammatory comments and telling them to boycott a particular community. So now when these self-proclaimed religious leaders or people of a political party, be it, positions of authority like the Home Minister, CM, or whoever it might be, if you're giving misleading statements which gets refuted, this will further add fuel to the fire.
And the Haryana violence continues to be our big story here on India Today. That's a wrap on India First. See you at the same time tomorrow. Business Today with Abha comes up next.
In politics, everyone has an opinion, but I have the data. Whose stock is rising? Whose graph is falling? Track India's political stock exchange. Unmatched, unmissable data analytics. The only show on News TV where numbers do the talking. India's most credible poll tracker. The Political Stock Exchange with Rahul Kamal only on India Today.
Think that part of the softness, weakness that you are seeing in some markets is also to do with peak digital being crossed that we saw post-COVID. Is it due to that, or is it due to what's happening in the broader economy in some of the markets that we just spoke about?
Yeah, very good question, Siddharth. So I think from my perspective, I would share some data points. One is globally, we are at about 1.1 billion 5G subscribers, which in my view has to get to 5 billion subscribers in the next, 4 to 5 years. So clearly, multi-fold growth on 5G subscription has to happen. That will only happen when all our towers globally, at least 70 to 80% of them are connected on optical fiber. In India, for example, we are still at only 35% of our towers are backhauled on fiber, which clearly has to go to 70-80%. So I think that's the second part. Is there's still majority of the tier 1 countries, including US, Germany, of course, India, Australia. Many of these countries have only 30 to 40% of the homes connected on fiber. And so that's the second shift that will clearly happen. And third is clearly a massive explosion of data centers, not only in India, but globally, that we will continue to see, both in terms of large data centers as well as edge data centers. So we continue to be quite bullish in terms of next 5 to 7 years. And the last part is tier 1, governments putting in large investments to connect the unconnected, which has also got accelerated by COVID. So when we look at all of these, targets, we clearly are confident that next 5 to 7 years, there'll be strong demand for the optical fiber.
What about India? I just want you to expand on that, because on one hand, we are seeing broadband, wired broadband expand slowly. Wireless broadband is obviously the bulk of the market. But if you move away from the top tier cities, when it comes to rural India, it's still a bit patchy despite BharatNet. How would you describe the scenario going forward as far as India getting connected with good backhaul networks?
Yeah, I think I would categorically say this is a top priority both for telecom operators, independent internet service providers like ACT, Fastway, etc., and equally for the government. There's, making sure that BharatNet gets executed at scale, as well as the network itself gets utilized, is a top priority for the government, which I think is right on the button. I think we still continue to face challenges in terms of execution on the ground because of right-of-way permits, getting forest clearance, getting railway clearance. These are the things which typically hinder the speed of execution. So that I'm confident with the efforts of Department of Telecom and the ministry. There's a lot of work going on between center and state to simplify the approval process, and which will then further accelerate the deployment.
What really should be your alternatives to white refined sugar, which clearly is something that you must avoid? Let's talk about what you can use instead of this white sugar. Number 1, organic brown sugar. Organic, then all the very better, because this is extremely healthy. Now what it does essentially is that this is processed, but it is made in the most natural way to retain most of sugarcane's nutrition, and that's the reason why this should be an alternative. Coconut or palm sugar, again, extremely healthy sources of sugar, which are alternatives as well. Extracted from the flower buds of the coconut palm tree, the sugar has a mild caramel taste and can be used in a number of ways in your delicacies, also for daily consumption. Date sugar, extremely nutritious natural sweetener. Date sugar can be a great addition to your diet. This also is a good alternative. Jaggery or gur, as we know, it has got a world of benefits in terms of what it does to your body. Essentially, a lot of people have spoken about the fact that during pollution, you should be consuming a lot of gur. It's a great alternative to sugar. Also, the fact that it is rich in iron is really an added benefit and added advantage. Raw or unprocessed honey, this too is a great alternative. You can use it in various forms, like you use white refined sugar. It tastes extremely good as well.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Hello and welcome. You're with us here on Business Today. I'm Abha Bakaya. Here are the day's top stories. Sensex and Nifty follow global cues and tumble after Fitch downgrades US credit rating. 3 lakh crore in investor wealth wiped out. Only 4 Sensex stocks managed to end in the green. In a shock move, ratings agency Fitch lowers the credit rating of United States, cites steady deterioration in governance over the past 20 years. Business Today TV tells you what the move means for India. Indigo flies high above financial turbulence, reports its highest ever quarterly net profit of 3,090 crore rupees in Q1, gains big from the vacuum created by the grounding of Go First. SpiceJet to convert dues of aircraft lessor Carlyle into equity will issue 5.91% stake at 48 rupees a share. That's more than 65% higher than yesterday's closing price. Share zooms more than 7% today. Maruti now the #1 SUV company in the country. New models barrel it past competition in July. The big worry is a sharp fall in the bread and butter mini car sales. We have a conversation with Maruti on the show today. Let's take a look at how the Sensex and Nifty performed today. Let's take a closer look at all of the market action. A bloodbath on D Street as benchmark settled sharply lower today, the Sensex setting below the 66,000 mark and the Nifty barely managing to hold 19,500. The sell-off followed the downgrade of the US government's top credit rating by rating agency Fitch. Profit booking also played its part, and for the day, markets plunged. Sensex was down almost 700 points. Nifty was down over 200 points as well. We had a few gainers, just a handful: Divi's Lab, Nestle, HUL, Asian Paints and Tech Mahindra. Minor gains on the losers list: Hero Motorcorp, Tata Steel, Tata Motors, Bajaj Finserv and NTPC. Let's go across to Sakshi now. Sakshi, what are some of the big reasons for the fall in markets?
Well, that's right, Abha. The Indian markets crashed sharply today with the Sensex tumbling over 1,000 points on an intraday basis. Both the Sensex and the Nifty ended deep in the red, down by over 1%, but off the lows of the day. The volatility index also rose sharply by 10-odd%. All the sectoral indices ended in the red as well. Investors, in fact, lost a whopping 3.5 lakh crore rupees of wealth in today's trading action. So what really spooked the D Street today? 5 key factors. To start off with, it was the Fitch rating downgrade of the US. The US was stripped of its top-tier sovereign credit grade by Fitch Ratings, which criticized the country's ballooning fiscal deficits and erosion of the governance that actually led to repeated debt limit clashes over the past 2 decades, and that was the primary reason for that. What led to this was the weak global cues. We did see that the US markets ended mixed last night, with the Nasdaq ending almost 0.5% lower, and then it was the US futures that actually reacted to this Fitch rating downgrade that actually pulled the Asian markets lower in the morning trade by almost 2-odd%. And then the FII outflows, after pumping in about 1.5 lakh crore rupees in the last trade over FY24 so far, the foreign institutional investors have shown some signs of exhaustion. In fact, FIIs have turned net sellers over the last 4 trading sessions as per the NSE data, having pulled nearly 6,000 crore rupees worth of funds from the Indian equities, even though this was offset by the buying of the same amount and even higher by the DIIs. Remember, profit booking was another reason. July was the 5th consecutive month in which the Nifty ended on a positive note, and the market has rallied over 13% in the last 5 months, giving impatient investors a chance to book some profits when the market showed some signs of fall or a decline. Now, we did see valuation concerns also simmering in. The one-way rally from the March lows had also brought valuations under stress and left little scope for any upside of the rally too. As per Axis Securities, the Nifty is currently trading at 18.8x on a 12-month forward PE. That's definitely on a larger side or a higher side when we compare to the average valuations, and that led to the fall as well. So these were the key 5 reasons that pulled down the index today.
Catch top market guru Sameer Arora on Business Today TV very soon. Send in your questions on the number on your screen by 4 p.m. Friday. Rating agency Fitch late on Tuesday downgraded the U.S. government's top credit rating, leaving American authorities furious. The downgrade drew angry responses from the various wings of the U.S. government and left investors surprised. What does this mean? Here's a complete report on the implications of Fitch's latest move.
It is the largest economy in the world, with the dollar, the Fed's interest rates, the bond market, all benchmarks for the world to follow. Now, Fitch is one of the 3 big global rating agencies has, in a shock move, downgraded the US government's top credit ratings to AA+ from AAA. Citing fiscal deterioration over the next 3 years and repeated down-the-wire debt ceiling negotiations that threaten the government's ability to pay its bills. According to Fitch, there's been a steady deterioration in standards of governance over the last 20 years, including on fiscal and debt matters. It added that the repeated debt limit political standoffs and last-minute resolutions have eroded confidence in fiscal management. Also, the report said that the US government lacks a medium-term fiscal framework, unlike most peers, and has a complex budgeting process. These factors, according to Fitch, along with several economic shocks as well as tax cuts and new spending initiatives, have contributed to successive debt increases over the last decade. The US administration's response to the economic thumbs down was immediate. US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said she disagreed with the downgrade, calling it arbitrary and based on outdated data, adding that the US Treasury securities remain the world's preeminent safe and liquid asset and that the American economy is fundamentally strong. White House response was purely political, blaming the downgrade on the previous Donald Trump government. The statement also termed Republican laws a threat to the US economy. According to analysts, the US rating downgrade is an extraordinary thing and has potential for a global impact. It could raise interest rates on US government bonds, which could result in higher interest payments on the national debt, putting additional strain on the government budget. This could affect the overall economy and erode investor confidence, leading to negative market sentiment. This downgrade may also dent the stability of the US dollar, which will influence the movement of global currencies with respect to it. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
Business Today TV, Sakshi Batra spoke to market analyst Hemang Jani earlier today and asked him what impact the downgrade would have on India. Listen in.
Yes, I think the main trigger that is coming for the correction that we witnessed today is the downgrade by Fitch of the US economy, wherein because of the growing concerns about the way the debt has grown and the way the government there is not able to resolve certain debt related issues in terms of the limits and the overall debt ceiling which is there. There is a sense that maybe there could be some amount of risk because of that, and which has actually triggered off the correction in our markets. I think, Sakshi, we should not overplay or give too much of importance to these kind of developments, because credit rating agencies typically are behind the schedule when it comes to taking any decision in terms of the rating change. And the market is forward looking. So sometimes, there can be a knee-jerk reaction because of these kind of developments. But I do not see this necessarily as a reason for a deeper correction for our markets. The interest rates are linked to the rating that the sovereign country gets. Also, many intercorporate transactions are also linked to the credit rating that, the corporates have. So to that extent, it has some impact on the interest rates per se. But the market, as I said before, is forward-looking and would have already priced into a great extent, because if you see the 10-year bond yield movement in US, it had already touched about 4. So market was actually anticipating such a move. And I think maybe temporarily you might see the 10-year bond yields really spike up, and to that extent, it would have some negative rub-off on the market. But I do not see this as a major negative for our own markets.
The 51st GST Council meeting was held in Delhi today. One of the biggest issues on the agenda is a clarification on how 28% GST is to be implemented on online gaming. The gaming industry has vehemently objected to the additional tax which was decided in the last council meet. Let's listen in to the big decisions today.
Decision to amend the CGST had these dissenting voices. Delhi on online game, casino for Goa and Sikkim, and Tamil Nadu on online games having been banned. What are your changes going to affect us like? So they wanted a language to be put in saying where the ban has happened, obviously tax cannot be levied. So on that, Revenue Secretary had agreed, saying that he will give a language in the amendment so that Tamil Nadu's ban is taken cognizance of even in the amendments. So that is where today's outcome is. The Secretariat will work together. We'll get a amendment to the CGST taken up at the earliest, hopefully even in this session. And when the question of when to implement it came, 1st October is when it is expected, by which time the states also will pass their amendments to their state laws. And because on the casino, Goa and Sikkim kept appealing, saying we are small states, we need to be given a consideration. Andhra Pradesh FM also said we should have large heart and help out small states. The council agreed today to come back after 6 months to review the way in which this is getting implemented.
Let's take a break. When we return, outlook on gold prices as the yellow metals demand plunges in India this year.
moisture brought by the rains brings temperatures down, providing relief from scorching heat, and is seen as a symbol of prosperity, festivity, and joy across the nation. But the moisture-laden winds that breathe life into the landscape also gives life to a legion of infections that can affect various parts of your body in different ways. Some of these issues are skin deep, while others affect deep in your gut. But your immune system is very effective in tackling these infections. These microorganisms burgeon in high humidity and warm temperatures, which means that one is more likely to get an infection during these wet months.
Eye infection essentially that we see during rainy seasons could be of two areas of the eye, two parts of the eye. One is called conjunctivitis, which is conjunctiva is a transparent membrane covering the white of the eye, and its infection is called conjunctivitis. And then there's something called keratitis, where the central corneal area, which appears dark, was actually transparent. That gets infected, and that's a more serious form of infection.
As the eyes are not connected to the immune system, dusty and stormy weather exacerbates the situation by facilitating the movement of the microorganisms through the air. Conjunctivitis, corneal ulcers, and styes become common.
Eye infection essentially that we see during rainy seasons could be of two areas of the eye, two parts of the eye. One is called conjunctivitis, which is conjunctiva is a transparent membrane covering the white of the eye, and its infection is called conjunctivitis. And then there's something called keratitis, where the central corneal area, which appears dark, was actually transparent. That gets infected, and that's a more serious form of infection. So for conjunctivitis, the typical symptoms would be redness, which you know as a red eye or a pink eye, discharge, watering. Sometimes there could be swelling of the lids. In contrast, for corneal infections, there would be similar symptoms, but in addition, there's likelihood of pain being there, which could range from mild to severe.
This is not what you're supposed to do. And if you do have to rub your eyes, ensure that you have clean hands. Another advice would be not to step out during stormy or dusty weather. And if you do have to step out, always remember to keep cool sunglasses handy.
It is not just a grandma's tale. Eating carrots really help. Not just carrots. Eating food rich in vitamin A, C, and E, such as carrots, kale, and salmon, also improves eye health.
Welcome back. The Finance Ministry has tabled a list of the top willful bank defaulters in Rajya Sabha. According to the list, India's top 50 loan defaulters owe 87,000 crore 295 rupees to banks and financial institutions. The banks have also written off more than 10.5 lakh crore rupees during the last 5 years. Among defaulters, fugitive Mehul Choksi's Gitanjali Gems tops the list with 8,738 crore rupees in dues to banks, followed by ERA Infra Engineering, which owes close to 6,000 crores, REI Agro with about 5,000 crores, ABG Shipyard also close to 5,000 crores in dues. Concast Steel and Power close to 4,000 crore rupees, and that completes the top 5 list. Others include Rodomac Global, Winsome Diamonds, Frost International, Sri Lakshmi Kotsin, and Zoom Developers Private Limited. July has been a mixed bag for Maruti. While it achieved its dream of being the biggest SUV player in the country, sales of the company's bread and butter mini car models plunged 52% on year. However, the good news is that the crippling semiconductor shortage is receding in the rearview mirror, as BTTV's Chetan Bhutani found in his conversation with Maruti Suzuki's Senior Executive Officer Shashank Srivastava.
Yeah, so it's been actually one of the positive things that emerged in July regarding the UV sales was, of course, the semiconductor crisis, which we were battling, the whole of last couple of years, and Q1 seems to have eased a little bit. And as a result, we could produce some very good numbers for Ertiga and XL6. Also, we could get much better supplies of the Brezza and the Vitara. The Fronx also continues to do well. And those are reflected in the very good growth numbers that you just mentioned. And also in terms of the SUV market itself, we have done, I think we have made good progress towards our stated objective to be the number one manufacturer of SUVs. In fact, for the month of July, we were the number one SUV in terms of the sales. We did about 42,600 units against the next biggest player. That was around 36,000 units.
So is it bothering you about the plunge in mini cars and small compact vehicles sales being plunging? Although SUVs on the revival of Maruti and record numbers have come, but yes, does a decline in sales worry Maruti Suzuki?
I wouldn't say worry, but yes, if you look at the overall market construct, while still the segment is large, I mean, 13,40,000 vehicles were sold last year in the small car segment, which is a pretty large segment. And it becomes important to us more so because we have a 70% share in that segment. So from that perspective, this segment, both in terms of volume and the market share, is very important. That's the reason why we want to continue to consolidate in this segment while we get into the new segments like the SUVs, where admittedly we have been weak historically. But now with these four models, I'm happy to say that we could achieve almost 25% share in July in the SUV segment as well. So yes, I would say it's like you have to devise a strategy according to the market movements.
Is the rural India, rural Bharat consumer pushing the purchase to a later date when the vehicles become more affordable, or the trend would be like this?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple of things which are happening, and it's not just one trend that we can talk of. In terms of the body shape preference, yes, it seems to be a general trend towards the more SUV-ish, strongish, upright driving stance type of vehicle with high ground clearance, which is what the SUV offers. So that trend is body type preference trend is there. On the other hand, you also see the trend in terms of the income levels going up in the rural areas. So combined with that, you would see the rural growth, for example, in our opinion, should continue to be robust. If you look at, for example, April to July period, the growth in the rural areas has been about 12%. In the urban areas, it is 8.6%, and combined, it's about 10.3%. So still rural growth outpacing the urban growth. In rural, actually, in the month of July, for example, the growth was 18.6% against 14.2% growth for the urban area. So the preferences obviously will depend on how the economy in the rural areas work. There seems to be a lot of positives which we observe, but of course, we'll have to wait and see how it pans out.
Sir, the company has, of course, now become the leader in the 10 to 20 lakh crucial segment. With the Invicto coming in, how soon would you be able to capture a significant portion of the 20 to 30%, the second hottest probably segment for the SUV?
So the 20 to 30 lakh segment which you are referring to, where the Invicto is playing, is roughly around 4.5% of the overall market. So it's still a small market, but it has been growing. In just a couple of years back, it was about 2% or slightly less than 2% of the overall market. So yes, there is a substantial jump in that segment, although in absolute volume terms, it may not be large at the moment. But the Invicto that you mentioned, we have about 10,000 bookings now of the Invicto, and it's really about how quickly we can supply these vehicles if we have to garner the extra market from there. First month we just could do about 500 vehicles because that was the total supply available. So if you do that rough calculation, it seems to be a pretty big and long waiting period. However, we are, discussing with Toyota on how to get more Invicto so that we can get not only good volumes there, but also reduce the waiting periods.
Gold demand in the country this year could fall to its lowest level in 3 years. The World Gold Council has said that with prices of the yellow metal at record highs, dampening retail sales could translate to a 10% fall this year. My colleague Sakshi Batra spoke to Mr. Somasundaram, PR, Regional Chief Executive Officer of the Gold Council, about the precious metal and its outlook. Here's an excerpt.
Well, let me just bring out the point where you have mentioned in your report that gold demand in India particularly, which is the world's second largest consumer of gold, has in fact slipped in Q2 of the calendar year. Help us with the reasons behind the same.
Well, as we have stated, it's largely to do with the price. As the prices have shot up very fast, consumers tend to stay on the sidelines to see whether this is a blip or is it a sustainable increase. It always happens. Volatility is good for the trading community, it's not good for the consumers. So that is what has really happened. On top of it, there have been other factors as well. Probably a little bit of inflation has bitten into the incomes, and that must also have reduced the amount that people could afford to buy gold. But primarily, the high prices, in fact, it touched something like 64,000 rupees in Indian rupee during the quarter, where gold prices were literally unaffordable for many people. That must have been the biggest reason. And to give you an indication, gold prices have gone up by nearly 12% above the prices of last year's same quarter.
Okay, sir, can the second half demand be even worse than the first half? What is your own sense here?
Well, generally, second half is the better half every year. This is a general rule, although we have seen even Q2, sometimes Akshaya Tritiya just exceeding expectations.